be the kids on the bus.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, you would, sir?
Should have been on.
Good evening. Welcome to Lower Frederick Township Board of Supervisors General Meeting for September 2nd of 2025. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. In attendance is Vice Chair Hexter, Supervisor Sachs, and on Zoom we have Supervisor Byrd and Supervisor Yeiser. Is he up there now? Is he on yet? Okay. In attendance also is our Township Manager, Solicitor, Peter Nelson, Engineer, and our Chief of Police, Brian Cass. There was an executive session on Tuesday, August 26th via Zoom to discuss real estate and legal matters. Township meetings are recorded for the purpose of preparing the minutes, and the recording is destroyed after the minutes are approved. The meeting will be posted online on the Township YouTube channel. The link can be found on the Board of Supervisors page on the Township website. It is requested that all persons wishing to speak before the board shall state their name and address and the subject matter upon which they wish to speak for the record. In the interest of facilitating the business of the board, all persons addressing the board shall be limited to 3 minutes unless time is extended by the chair for good cause. Individuals are requested to remain in their seats and to respect when other persons are speaking. The Board of Supervisors will provide a reasonable opportunity for citizens to comment on any non-agenda items after all agenda items have been addressed, but prior to the adjournment of the public meeting. First on our agenda this evening for administrative actions, we have no meeting minutes this evening. And we move on to our treasurer's report.
Okay, so this is the August Treasurer's Report for financial information through August 31st. Main highlight for August is we did receive our $200,000 reimbursement from the county for the 2040 Monco grant used for the Spring Mount Road Sidewalk and Culvert Project. This has been deposited into our general capital fund. Thank you, Carol, for getting that to the county. Oh, seriously. Yeah, I'm missing a page. Please, I'm missing my main start at the general fund after the chart.
Sorry, you want me to do the total general fund revenue?
Or I guess I can pull it up on that screen here.
Oh, or I can just give you my packet.
Sorry. Oh, all right.
Okay, well, we can go back to that. I guess we can pay our bills for this month. For August 2nd to August 29th of 2025, the general fund in the amount of $102,448.08. General capital fund for $10,080. Sewer fund for $29,208.35. And the sewer capital fund for $680. Can I get a motion to pay the bills?
I think there's something there for Sachs and Sons, so I'm gonna have to decline.
Is it in the sewer fund or?
It's in the general.
The general fund, I think it
Yes.
was for $262.
Yep.
Okay.
So we could just do everything except the sewer fund,
No, the general
Well, I
fund.
won't tell
except for the general fund. and
total
then-
outright.
Yeah.
He has it totaled into the 102,484.
Well, then we can do two votes. You can recuse yourself.
Yeah, I've got those
Okay.
amounts.
All right, I'll recuse myself from the general.
Okay. Well, then we can break that out.
Why don't we just vote on the general fund and then we can do the other?
Absolutely, okay.
So the general fund, that total would be 102, 220. Oh, you're going to do that separately?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
So I will vote to approve the payment of bills for the general fund.
Can I get a second? I will make that motion.
I will decline or recuse myself.
Okay. And then for the general capital fund, the sewer fund, and the sewer capital fund, can I get a motion?
We should vote on this one first. We gotta vote on this one first.
I thought we just did.
No.
Oh,
No, we didn't vote.
gotcha, thank you. Getting a little confused, sorry. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now the general capital fund, sewer fund, and sewer capital fund. Can I get a motion to pay those bills?
Chuck Yiser will make the motion.
Supervisor Yiser makes the motion. Can I get a second?
I will second.
Supervisor Hexter makes the second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Now the treasurer's report.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, so for the general fund, the net income was $185,940, outperforming the budget by $83,401. Revenue is over budget by 7.1%, or $136,973. The strongest performer continues to be charges for service at 140.8% over budget, or $93,110 over budget. The weakest performer would be license and permits. This is where our franchise fees, which is 17.4%, or $9,123 under budget. Year-to-date progress, we've received 83.3 of our budgeted annual revenue. Expenses were over budget by 2.9%, or $53,571. Key drivers for this is repair and maintenance for the township building, wages patrol officers, consultant for zoning and building, roads and bridges contractors, and contracted services. We do have some significant savings with legal services, police O&M, public works wages, public works health insurance, and line striping. The year-to-date budget progress is 69.5% of annual expense. The general capital fund has a net income of $232,732. That is, actually, I didn't account for the 200,000, okay. With expenses of 18,000, which was for the Spring Mount sidewalk payment release and the public works equipment not purchased. As the board may recall, we did get the unbudgeted DCD grant for the police vehicle, the public works donation, and now the $200,000 reimbursement for the sidewalk project. Sewer fund, we have a net income of negative $152,146, which is $154,000 under budget. Revenue is 5%, or $42,853 under budget. Our sewer use charges is 2.6, or $19,000 under budget, and our sewer connection tap and fees is 63.9, or $52,000 under budget. Expenses are 12.9, or $111,000 over budget. This is broadly across multiple items. Primarily, our bigger expenses are utilities, supplies, chemicals, and a transfer to sewer capital from tap-in fees. Year-to-date budget progress, we've received 66.2% of our budgeted revenue, and we've spent 72.5 of our budgeted expenses. The sewer capital fund, net income is at $314,997. We're 114.4%, or $172,000 over budget. And this is primarily for the $200,000 for the 2023-2024, or portion of the 2023-2024 trapping fees, and the $118,000 transfer for the sewer CIP contribution. And the expenses so far this year have been for the Zieglerville Road extension planning at $7,660. Liquid fuels remains relatively unchanged with a net income of negative $19,557. We only added interest in the month of August. That fund is exceeding budget by $51,000. The Open Space Fund, net income of $48,103, exceeding budget by $82,711. Revenue, we received $84,531, which is $6,668 over budget. And expenses is $36,428, which is $76,042 under budget. Available funds for this is $344,207, which excludes the allocations for Federal Highlands Grant and a natural lands conservation easement. Year-to-date budget progress, 73.9% of revenue received and 25.6% of expenses received, or expenses spent. And the ARPA fund has remained relatively unchanged. We've got a total of $3,052 of interest earned, and we were still waiting on to complete one project for that fund to close that fund out. Any questions?
I have none. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, this is Chuck. Jason, I think backing up to, what was it, the general capital fund where you didn't have the reimbursement
Yes,
in there, is that correct?
yes.
So how do we want to handle that? Do you want to do like an amended report or?
Yeah, I can get that true number. I was trying to balance that number in the process of that getting into QuickBooks, and I realized I did not get that into the revenue number. So I can do that. I can amend my report.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Do we have to then approve that at a subsequent meeting, or it just gets amended?
It just can get amended. This is not a formal action that needs to be taken by the board.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no more questions, we move on with professional staff reports. Engineers report?
Thank you. So the first item on my agenda, on my report, appears on the agenda a little later this evening, so I'll jump over that. Informational items on my report is an update on the Melbourne Hill development. Brubacher completed the gravel pike pavement restoration this month. The walking trail or emergency access has been paved from Little Road into the site. Seed and mulch have been applied to stabilize disturbed areas on the site in anticipation of a pause in work. Toll Brothers has not yet advised when site work will resume. At Farmview Estates, home construction continues. Landscape crews this month have been raking, seeding, and mulching along the recently completed paved walking trail. On Gerloff Road, the contractor AMS filled the areas of Gerloff Road where emulsion had pulled up with a Type B microsurfacing, and then they placed full-width microsurfacing to seal the road from Big Road to Yerger Road. They also sealed some portions of Gerloff Road between Yerger Road and the township line. That contractor is absorbing the full cost of labor and materials to do this additional work to resolve the chip seal problems on that road from earlier this summer. The Gentera project, also known as 225 Big Road, plans and supporting documents have been reviewed for that 30-lot subdivision. That's on Big Road opposite the middle school. The developer asked to be on the September agenda of the Township Planning Commission. And the Artisan or Landis tract over near the boundary with Perkiomen and Schwenksville, those plans were resubmitted recently and will be reviewed in coming weeks. Everything else on my report is either repetitive from previous months or talks about individual grading permits, which I don't think I want to task the board with those details. So if there's any questions on those items from the board, I would be happy to address them.
So the microsurfing thing that was done on Gerloff Road, I've gotten a lot of compliments about the work that was done over there. And I'm wondering if that's an option instead of chip and seal?
It is. What they effectively did was something called a cape seal, which is a chip seal with a microsurface overlay. And as we're putting together the roads information for the board in coming weeks, we'd be happy to include the costs that would be associated with that, sure.
Does it cost more to do that
Oh, yes.
process? Okay.
Yeah, so chip seal is about your least expensive option. Microsurfacing is a bit more expensive, but it's not prohibitively so. The township actually did microsurfacing back around the year 2000 on a few roads. Some across the way, Village Drive, I think, got microsurfacing.
Is it as effective?
It's effective, but it's not as pliable as the chip seal. So if you have cracks in the road, it's going to reflect through your microsurfacing. So it's effective when the roads are still in reasonably good condition.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our solicitor's report. Thank you. We'll move on to our staff reports. Chief?
Thank you. For the month of August, Police Department handled 336 calls for service. We conducted 118 traffic stops, issued 78 traffic citations for various motor code vehicle violations, and we conducted 24 traffic enforcement details. Police Department participated in the National Night Out hosted by Peace and Zion Church, and it was a pretty good turnout, and it's an important event for us. We get to really have a good interaction with the community and especially with the residents that participated. We were on duty during the Full Fest weekend. We had with our uniform presence, there was no problems in the township, so we didn't have to get involved in anything or take immediate action. Police Department completed all its mandatory weapons training for the conditions of the Municipal Police Officers Training and Education Commission. Officer NARC completed Crisis Intervention Specialist Program training, which is training that promotes interventions for individuals experiencing a mental health episode with resources and programs through non-criminal intervention. We're starting to prepare for the trunk or treat on October 19th from 12 to 3. The information's on the Township Facebook page. Specific questions can be directed to Officer Lauer by phone or email. And the bus patrol program is fully operational and has been implemented between the Police Department and Perkiomen Valley School District. And that's the end of my report. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Does anyone have any questions for Chief?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I'm out almost every day walking or running, and I see people, more often than not respecting the stop signs. And I'm very happy to see your officers, including yourself, out at some of these intersections, reminding people when you pull them over that stop means stop, not slow down, not look and keep going. We have some really dangerous intersections, so whatever you can do, keep up the good work, but it's so chronic.
We're trying to be out, and it's not about issuing tickets. It's more the education and what can cause. So I'm glad that you're noticing it. I believe most of the residents are really noticing that we're out too. So I will extend your well wishes to the department and keep up our good work.
And I wish we could get people to obey traffic rules, but it's a tough one.
Very, very much so.
Thanks, Chief. Fire company?
Okay, so for the month of August, they had 27 service calls with 11 service calls in Lower Frederick.
Okay. Ambulance?
For ambulance, in the month of July, they had 16 service calls in Lower Frederick, 71 service calls in their primary coverage area, and 31 service calls outside their primary coverage area. For the month of August, they had 25 service calls in Lower Frederick for a year-to-date total of 170. In their primary coverage area, they had 79 in the month for a total of 632 year-to-date. And as far as mutual aid outside primary coverage area, they had 18 in August for a total of 199 year-to-date.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on either of those? Okay. Public Works?
Okay, I'm sure. So for the month of August, Public Works completed 2 sump pump inspections. The fence was completed around the storage containers. They pressure washed wood guard rails at Cuddy and Foy Parks. They painted parking lines at Coble Park, painted speed lines for the police department, managed the mowing contractors, continued working on storm inlets, which is what I'm showing you now. These were inlets on Boulder Lane. That's the finished work. This is the fence area behind the Public Works area. If you've driven by, there's a much less clutter in the front area. And from the conversations I've had with the guys, they're thrilled with the extra space that they're getting inside the building and, you know, what they can do with that now. They did mow the meadow behind the township office, cleared roads from storm debris. They road mowed Crystal Drive, Evergreen Road, and around Cuddy and Colonial Park. And PM work was completed at the sewer plant. So here is more. This is Burger Lane, or Burger Road, finished inlet work. This is along Grimley. That's the finished, or that's the box that goes in. Some more work. That's the finished product. So this is what I believe they've got 1 or 2 inlets left. They are going to be starting on the Simmons Road Bridge this week. The materials are coming in, I believe, tomorrow, and they'll start working on that. So that would be the kind of the third phase of the approved work that the board back a few months ago. So I just wanted to share some of this is what the guys are doing, or have been doing.
Glad to see that all those inlets getting done.
Any questions, I guess?
This is question, comment. Dan Orff, Kratz Road, almost forgot. Green light's on. Can you hear me okay? Okay. The fencing over at Colville Park looks great and it looks really nice and neat. The only comment I would have is, having gone over there and spent some time there, is if they could have put some fencing around the big trash container unit that's out there, because it really sticks out like a sore thumb now that everything else is so nicely managed. So I don't know whether they could do that or not, but it kind of sits right out.
It's in
You
the
have to
parking
walk
lot. It's
past
like in
it.
the parking lot.
Yeah, you got to walk past it to get to the pavilion and the walking trails. So just think of it, just something to think about.
Okay, comment noted. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to the sewer report.
Okay, so for the sewer report,
Oh, I apologize. Is there a hand up? No,
No.
that's the cursor.
oh, sorry, that's the cursor. As far as this wastewater treatment plant, we did get our new MPDEP permit. That was approved at the end of the month. That'll expire at midnight on August 31st, 2030. So it's a 5-year permit. So that's something that Bob and Tommy have been working through. The Delphi pump station, there was nothing to report. The Riverside pump station, nothing to report. We still are working to have the sewer specialty services come out for the I&I project. Mang Road study, which that says nothing to report, but that actually he is pulling costs for potential low pressure systems as part of that study that Carol needs to continue that study for Mang Road. And then the Melbourne Hills subdivision, Brubaker is sealing up the installed sanitary sewer, installed a wing. Hills Road will need to be raised to grade. Fulmer is complete. Individual. We have the individual connections along Little Road and 4th Avenue that we're working through. Trying to just look for new stuff. Farmview. For the Gentera track, he did have a Teams meeting with the engineer to discuss that the sanitary for that project. That should be on the Planning Commission's agenda. And then as far as the Zieglerville Road low pressure sanitary sewer, the boring was done on this past Thursday. He I talked to Bob today. It's going to take some time to get that report back, the report back from that company. So we will tentatively have him on the October 7th agenda to discuss that planning project, hopefully with the updated cost estimate. Obviously, he needs to know what rock, well, I should say what rock or how deep the rock is as far as creating that cost estimate for the board to review and discuss.
So I think was the boring was also to determine whether if it could be done either in the cartway in the center or.
The boring will determine whether they can directional bore underground or whether they've got a trench like we had to do with the former Riverside project so that's a big part of the boring as I understand it.
Are you familiar with the scope of how far up Zieglerville or what sections of Zieglerville Road he was actually focusing on? Or is that something only he could answer right now?
I believe most of the boring was up top towards that end manhole. I don't know how far down the road they came. He said they had 10 spots, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure how far down the road he went with that, or they went with that.
So we went all the way up to the manhole at the top of Zieglerville Road.
Well, at the top of the hill, as you're kind of hitting where Goshen and Zieglerville connect.
I don't know, maybe I misunderstood. I thought that was supposed to go out to the manhole in 29.
No, that's because we'd have to get under the creek.
The creek.
Yes,
Understood. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
that would change that cost and scope of that project.
Obviously, yes. Okay, are there any questions regarding the sewer report? Okay.
Yeah, this is Chuck. So tentatively, you expect Bob to have everything together so he can report to us in the beginning of October, is that it?
Yes, Chuck.
And how does that, in terms of there's a grant application that's supposedly due in November, right?
So the LSA grant, we have up until November 30th to apply for that grant. So we will still have plenty of time to do that as long as he's got everything together.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any more questions. We'll move on to the zoning report.
Okay, so for the month of August, received 8 building permits and 5 zoning permits for a total of 13. 7 building and 3 zoning permits were approved for a total of 10. And 2 building permits and 3 zoning permits were completed for a total of 5. 11 resale UNOs were issued, 14 burn permits, 1 driveway permit, 2 pavilion reservation requests, and we received 9 pumping reports, on-lot pumping reports.
Okay, any questions? Okay, not seeing any. We're going to move on to our boards and commissions reports. The EAC.
Okay. We met on August 11th. The Stormwater Committee discussed the township suggestion that suggested a project at EAC for labeling storm drain inlets with no dumping labels that drains to waterways. We had some follow-up questions, but it does sound like a project.
Could you move closer to the microphone
Sure.
a little bit? Thank you.
Okay. So it sounded like a project that we would be interested in being involved in. We also discussed flooding issues with the unnamed tributary that on the west side of Main Street, behind the houses on the west side of Main Street. The Outdoor Lighting Committee reported on the proposed resolution that's later on the agenda tonight. The Birdtown Committee reported that they and the Perkiomen Pacers will be sponsoring a migratory bird walk on October 12th at 8 a.m. at the Hollywood access to the Perkiomen Trail, which is on Perkiomen Creek Road, just north of Greaterford Road. The Single-Use Bag Committee reported, and we discussed Ambler's bag ordinance. And then we also did some Fall Fest planning for our tables at the Fall Fest. We plan to have some information and activities for kids. And for this month's Did You Know, it's going to be a link to a website with information about keeping inflow to stormwater drains clean and to not dump materials into them. And that's our report. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Gary. Does anyone have any questions, any comments? Okay, seeing none. The Open Space Committee.
Good evening. The Open Space Committee met on August 13th. We were short several members. We had a quorum, but consequently, not too much was discussed during the public session of the meeting. After review of finances, we briefly discussed the Landmesser property and the board's previous action on that. A bit more discussion was given to the volunteer day that we have been working on planning with the hopes of having it ready for this fall, but in light of some other developments, we might be looking to do that in the spring. I'm willing to elaborate on that if need be. And then we will also be looking to have a volunteer and outreach table at the fall event on October 4th, just to encourage people to interact with the Open Space Committee or just provide a bit more information about the committee to anyone who's interested. The meeting then went into executive session where we are in the midst of some discussion about some new property developments that we're hopefully going to be working on to discuss at the next meeting too. That's all I have for this report. If anyone has any questions on anything, I'm happy to try and answer them.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Andrew? Okay, thank you, Andrew. Okay,
Thank you.
moving on to the Planning Commission.
Planning Commission meeting was canceled for the month.
Okay, the Planning Commission meeting was canceled, so we have no subsequent report. The Parks and Rec.
Okay, it is green. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, perfect. So we haven't met yet for September because of the Labor Day holiday, but we'll be meeting next Monday. We did share our park board priorities with Jason that we finalized last month. If there's any additional questions, just let us know. We'll be happy to answer them. Our survey, moving up slowly. We got 3 responses since the last time we reported. It is closing down. We'll be having it at our final event in October. So 2 more months. We're going to try to just push for people to fill it out so we can get as many responses as possible. August, we had 2 concerts because of the rain date. One was on August 7th, and then we had the final concert of the season on August 28th. And both of them are very well attended. The manatees were at the end of August, so parking is always a challenge. But with the volunteers that we had and the park board members, we were able to pull it off. So it was a good concert season, 2 rain dates, but that's okay. They're still well attended. Let's see, book-related activities. We did host book club on the 9th, and then PV Libraries hosted the Stories in the Park for the last Stories in the Park on August 14th. We held our first community art event. We had about 10 people out there. It was a lot of fun. We think it was pretty well received. One of the commissioners commented on Facebook, so that was pretty exciting to see. And then, let's see, we did have to do a follow-up to finish everything up this weekend because doing community art takes a lot longer than you would expect. Upcoming events, we have Movie on the Mountain for this Saturday, and then we do have the rain date for the following Saturday. Wild Robot is going to be the movie. And then Johnny's Pizza, I think I mentioned last time, they're offering a 20% discount for people that come and order pizza from them. Book club is on Saturday the 13th at Cuddy Park at 10 a.m. We're going to be reading The Amalfi Coast, and then we'll have refreshments from Barrister's Bagels in Royersford. And then finally, we have Fall Fest for October 4th. We have a lot of activities planned for people of all ages, so hopefully everyone can come out to it. It's also going to coincide with the community art at Foy Park. Since there's not a Board of Supervisors meeting prior to the event, We did want to just announce to everybody that we are looking for volunteers to help man some of the tables that we have and help out with some of the activities. Community art is going to start at 8:45, and then the actual Fall Fest will start at 11. So, any questions?
No, I have none, but congratulations on a successful summer.
Yeah, thanks.
Did a lot of really great projects.
It's a good
Sorry.
team effort.
I just have a question about the age groups for the community art project. What age are they intended for?
It's going to be the same, I think it's 12 and up. 12 and up is
So older
the-
kids?
Yes.
Okay, great,
yes.
thank you.
Yep,
Okay, thank you, Katie.
yep.
Okay, we're finished with our boards and commissions reports. We can get down to our regular business. The first item on our agenda this evening is Loctite Storage Land Development, consideration of project closeout and maintenance period, and I believe that will be Carol.
Thank you. So you might recall the Loctite was a land development plan for an expansion of the Loctite storage facilities that have been on Big Road in the township for many years, and they expanded further out the back. In support of the land development, there was a land development agreement executed, an escrow posted for that project. A substantial escrow was posted for that project. The developer was the builder, was the owner. So the owner of the property presented before you in December. The work was substantially completed. We had a punch list from November with some minor closeout issues and awaiting the close of the NPDES permit. At the December meeting, the board authorized a significant reduction in his escrow, and that's where we landed for a number of months. I'm pleased to report tonight that the project improvements are complete. All items identified in the November 13th, 2024 inspection report have been addressed, and we have received documentation from the Montgomery County Conservation District that the NPDES permit is closed. So tonight, we're recommending the board accept the project as complete. Now, acceptance of a project would normally begin the 18-month maintenance period for public improvements. The applicant is requesting that the board waive the requirement for the 18-month maintenance period and release the remainder of the escrow. Given that we don't have any public dedicated improvements on this project, I offer no objection to the applicant's request and present it to the board for your consideration.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments for Carol?
We're going to have our discussion first. Just to clarify, Carol, so the escrow that we are holding is 11,802
That's approximately correct, yes.
approximately, or?
I don't,
Because I've seen-
let me scroll down for the number. Yes, $11,802, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Chuck, Terry, do you have any questions, Terry?
Oh, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Chuck Yeiser, I don't have any questions.
Okay. So basically, we're looking at giving them, releasing the escrow, like the $11,802, and waiving the 18-month maintenance period because there are no public improvements.
Exactly. yes, ma'am.
From what I gather, I mean, their stormwater has been operational for
Some time now, yes.
some time now. Okay. Does anyone have a particular position on that? I personally do not. Dan, do you have a comment?
Yeah, if my recollection is correct, there was supposed to be an easement provided for a future walking trail that was supposed to go along the back portion of that property.
There were easements recorded with a record plan, yes.
Okay, so those are still on the books and still will
Yes,
take
this-
place.
This changes nothing.
Okay.
He has completed all the work that was required by his land development. It's
Okay.
been in place for a little while now because it took a while to close out his permits.
Yeah.
Just administrative.
I guess when I took your statement about all public improvements have been made, and obviously the easement still stands and can be used, put in place at some future point, right?
The easements are still on the recorded plan, yes.
Okay, I think I got the answer I was hoping for. Thank you.
Okay, well, if no one has any questions or additional comments, I don't see anyone not in favor of this, so I'm going to read the motion. I move to authorize closing of the Loctite Storage Land Development Project and waive the 18th month maintenance period as of August 20th of 2025, and further authorize the final release of the remaining improvement escrow by the township in the amount of $11,802. Can I get a motion?
So
So
moved,
moved.
Chuck Yeising.
Go for it.
Chuck, Supervisor Yiser makes the motion. Can I get a second?
I will second.
Supervisor Hexter makes the second. All of those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion moves forward unanimously. Okay, next on our agenda for this evening is the EAC request, 5 principles for responsible outdoor lighting resolution. This was an item that was on our agenda for last week, so this is open for discussion this evening. So it's a request from the EAC. They've been looking at outdoor lighting since the beginning of 2024. The principles listed in the resolution come from and are promoted by Dark Sky International, an organization with 2,000 plus volunteer advocates around the world trying to protect the night sky using education, advocacy, retrofits, community science, and more. So I guess I'm kind of confused about, do you have any suggestions on how we move forward with this in conversation? Because we've been presented with a resolution, but I'm not. Does anybody else have any thoughts on this?
I think limiting light at night is a great idea. The challenge is how do we do it? So this is just my perspective is at my house, I turn lights on when I need them, and I have a light on my garage that is motion censored. If we can educate residents to use motion sensor lights only when needed. We do have an ordinance about, was it nuisance? So if someone has excessive lighting, we can enforce that, but can we enforce? I mean, where's the line for lighting where we can enforce it and where we can't enforce it?
I guess honestly, I was like, this reads somewhat like an ordinance, but honestly, it would be rather difficult to enforce all of the principles. So I was hoping to confirm, please come up, Gary, whether this was a suggested based on a resolution, with the resolution, or.
I'm trying to grasp exactly what it is we're trying to accomplish. Like, we have a resolution, but I don't know how much tooth that has. I mean, it just says stuff, but what's the ultimate goal here?
Well, it does say that they request participation of residents and commercial properties. So it, but by those words, it's just asking, it's making people aware, right? Maybe there's an educational piece that goes along with this, and that's fine.
Was that your goal, to follow this up with an educational piece, or?
Yes, or we could include links to information about it in the resolution, if that would be helpful. When the Natural Resources Protection Standards was originally drafted, it was sent to the EAC for comment. That included an ordinance on outdoor lighting. It was based on a dated model, and our comments back were that, it was a dated ordinance, and it was using definitions that relied on definitions that no longer applied to modern lighting fixtures. Subsequently, the section was just removed from the Natural Resource Protection Standards. But the EAC, we want to advocate responsible outdoor lighting. So we were proposing this as just as a resolution that the township recommends that residents follow the 5 principles put out by the Dark Sky Association. So yes, it wasn't intended to be binding. It was just to be educational that the township supports responsible outdoor lighting.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Yep.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments in regards to this?
I mean, again, I think this is a great idea, but, you'll want to have some kind of rollout of this so people are aware of it. So if they want to voluntarily participate, they have the guidelines. So I don't know if you want to do it as part of like an e-blast or put something on the website, or maybe talk about it at some of our public events. But I think just doing a resolution, if people don't know about it,
Right.
is going to limit the exposure.
Yeah, I'd like to see it have a little bit more tooth. I'm perfectly happy to pass a resolution, but then to not have something to back it up, to carry this forward in the principles, kind of doesn't give it any tooth. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes, I mean, we have done a number of, a few did you knows regarding outdoor lighting at night. But yes, we would certainly, we could add something to our webpage with more additional information. And again, do another one when this is passed. It's going to advertise it.
So I would concur, if the board adopts the resolution, we could put that out, that the board recently adopted this resolution, and then that kind of is the jump off point for the further information that the board's supporting their, what's in this resolution. And
Correct.
obviously I didn't have this set up to adopt the resolution tonight, so this, so this would be done
We can do it
at an
the
upcoming
next-
meeting.
The next one.
And maybe wherever you launch it, have some links to other things so people can get more information. So if they're like, well, where do I get this kind of lighting? You can offer that. You can maybe have some pictures. As you said, you've done some Did You Know? So maybe you can link those so people can use this in a more
We could do that.
effective way.
Yes.
I also feel like if we're going to pass a resolution, it sounds like this is something that you folks are pretty passionate about. This is something that you care about. I'd like to see some strong efforts towards it, like getting it out to the public and doing some informationals, so.
Sure.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay,
Does anybody have any other questions? Warren?
Warren Jacobs, Fulmer Road. Can you hear me? I agree with what you said, Noel. It needs teeth. As far as getting information like this out to the public, I think most of the public that would care to be educated about it already is. So it would be more meaningful if we actually addressed our ordinance. If maybe the EAC would look into our current ordinance that we do have and see if there's anything that maybe could be done to strengthen it or make it more up to date with, modern equipment, things like that.
It's a consideration. I don't know how anybody else feels about the EAC. Maybe going back, looking at the previous one that was in the natural resource protection and comparing it to what we have, keeping in mind that we have to be careful about what we can and cannot enforce.
The Dark Sky Association does have a model ordinance. If the township were interested in passing an ordinance rather than a resolution supporting it, we could certainly provide you information about that too.
Is this something you'd like them to kind of present with the planning commission kind of thing before it gets back to the board?
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
Is this something you would like to kind of go through the planning commission before it would come back to the board? Since this is,
I mean, when we worked on this lighting ordinance way back when, it was a planning commission activity. And, as I remember, gosh, I don't remember when we did it. Maybe it was in the early 2000s or somewhere around there. You know, a lot of concern was like spillover of light onto neighboring properties, things like that, when lights could be on, when they couldn't be on, stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of new things that need to be thought about. But I think ultimately it should go, the planning commission needs to be involved in whatever comes of this.
Would it make sense for the EAC to make recommendations and pass them on to the PC and then have them look at it then? Anyone?
If it's going to be an ordinance update, that's a good idea, but I think the resolution is a good place to start, and we can start
Yes.
the education process, and I think that'll make the ordinance process a natural follow-on to it.
It's kind of
So-
like a layering effect here.
Yeah, so I'm still in
Yes.
favor of this. I mean, for example, I don't know what happens differently at Fall Fest and at Spring Fest, but at Spring Fest, people come and give talks about birds. So a lot of lighting affects birds, so that might be an opportunity to have someone talk about dark skies. If there's someone, one of you can do it, or you can bring a local expert in. It's just a great opportunity to get that captive audience and hand out information. So just some ideas.
Do either of the Terrys have any comments on this? Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I'm fine if they look into what we already have on the books and try to see how this would help it.
Okay, thank you, Terry. I
Yeah,
believe there's,
just before we move on, don't forget, with the planning commission, you also get a Monco County planner who is familiar with lots of ordinances and has, you know, a group of people that they can consult with. So there's a very valuable resource there, and that's why I think you should really, you know, if this does go the ordinance route someday, I probably won't be here, but I would strongly consider making sure the planning commission is involved, because you will have the resources of the county to help you with the ordinance.
oh, I completely agree, Chuck. Thank you. I believe there's a hand raised on the, is there a hand raised? Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. This is Brian Hill, 11 Zieglerville Road. I appreciate the having a neighborhood that is not, lit up completely, but I also am very in favor of having lighting. We have no street lights, particularly on Zieglerville Road. You go through the townhouses, very, very few lighting. We've had break-ins along our street here. The house across the street, when it was not occupied, had a resident squatting in that house for 5 days because there was no lighting. The Sachs excavation companies had their trucks vandalized and broken into. I am not in favor of any ordinance that requires enforcement of lighting, because I want to make sure that if someone's coming on my property, I know, and they see me and they know that the lights are there. Mine are all timed, but to start creating ordinances that are going to restrict residents from protecting their property, I am totally not in favor of. I'm not talking about throwing, gigantic lights on people, but to reduce and restrict a homeowner from protecting their property, no way. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Your concerns are well noted. Thank you. Okay, do we have any other comments or questions? I guess at this point, we're looking at the EAC, maybe making some recommendations for this to be on the PC agenda sometime in the not-too-distant future. Okay? And we'll have the resolution on our next agenda. Okay, thanks, Gary. Okay, next on our agenda this evening is an agreement, an MOU for County Bridge 101, which is Old Gravel Pike.
Okay, so as the board may recall, I was directed at the March 26, 2024 work session to send a letter requesting use of the at the time, newly restored bridge on Old Gravel Pike owned by Montgomery County. Prompted a response from the county and subsequent meeting with Jamie King, Director of Infrastructure and Asset Management for Montgomery County. We had that meeting. Marla and Noel were also in attendance. What was determined was that an MOU between the township and the county for use of the bridge could be used for pedestrian traffic. We did receive that draft MOU in August 2024, and Peter did discuss this with the board prior to that September 3rd meeting. The MOU took some time to get back from the county, obviously. And what you have in front of you is that final draft. It's an initial 36-month agreement with an automatically renewed one-year agreement thereafter. What comes out of that MOU, the township is to provide emergency and non-emergency services enforcement at the bridge and to users of the bridge, clean up litter and remove debris on a regular basis. And the township will indemnify and defend the county against any and all claims. Obviously, I had this set up for this past week, so if the board's okay with the agreement as presented, it can be approved and signed.
I'm fine with the agreement. I understand the county wants to ensure that, the bridge is taken care of. My one question is, we currently have a barrier there, so pedestrian traffic, and I'm assuming that includes people on a bicycle, currently cannot use it because there's a barrier. So who is responsible for removing that part of the barrier directly in front of the bridge so it can be used for pedestrian traffic?
I believe this was discussed with Jesse King back at our initial meeting in April, where we talked about having them remove those and potentially putting up bollards that could be removed in case we had an emergency and that bridge needed to be used for any reason. No parking, obviously, but, at least foot traffic. I don't know where they stood on that.
I think that's something I would probably have to kind of initiate since it's been,
Circle back with them.
as far as confirming that.
Okay, all right. So just to be clear, if we were to sign this agreement, it would simply be for emergency, non-emergency services, cleanup, litter, removal of debris. We're not responsible for the actual structure of the bridge itself. So just to make that clear. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this?
Again, I'd like some clarity on who's going to do that modification.
I think we're going to have Jason circle back with the county.
I'm willing to.
Yeah, well, this is Chuck. I mean, if you read their memorandum, the memo of understanding, it says, whereas the county agrees to open the bridge for pedestrian traffic only pursuant to certain terms and conditions. So that it does say they're going to open it, but to me, that says that they will do that. In other words, remove whatever's keeping people from getting across there. But obviously, we need to get that nailed down in finer detail.
Yeah, get that confirmed. I'm okay with this MOU as well, but I think I'd feel a lot better if we got confirmation that they have plans on actually removing that so that we could get that access.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with it the way it is. If we want to go forward with it, and then subsequently to confirm that understanding. But I just wanted to make sure that Peter has reviewed this and he doesn't have any issues with this.
Yeah, actually, the holdup was I did review it. I had some changes, and we did it roundabout or back and forth with the county on those changes, and they did make the change I asked for.
Okay.
And, just going back to the whole barrier, if the agreement does not specifically address the removal of the barriers, which it does not, we have no right or ability to remove them. That's county property. They're the ones that are going to have to do that.
Well,
So certainly, by signing this, it doesn't put the obligation on us to remove them. That being said, there's nothing in the agreement that specifically, the county specifically promising to remove them.
Chuck said that it alludes to it,
Yes.
but not specifically.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I would rather get actual confirmation before I sign this. Marla?
In writing, either as a separate email or add it to the MOU. I don't know what.
Or add
what
it
you
to
need
the MOU,
Something
make
just
it specific.
specifies that they will do it and what it is that they will do.
How much longer would this hold us up, Peter?
24 hours or 24 months?
Yeah,
I
right.
have no idea.
know. It's the county, I understand. Okay.
It's just such a shame because the bridge is so beautiful and it really does
We missed the whole
It
summer.
could help
Yeah.
pedestrians stay off of 29, at least for part of it.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is Jason's going to go get some confirm, unless I hear an objection from anyone otherwise, to get the specifics and get like concrete confirmation that they'll remove those things, bollards, the whole bit, and then we can circle back to this.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Do you think you might be able to get in touch or get contact with them for the next meeting, at least have an update for that?
That'd be my goal, just to
Okay.
get this done.
That would be
It's been
great.
out there,
Yeah,
we're a
I
year
feel
and a
bad
half
because
into
we had a whole summer without any access to that bridge that people could have been using it, so, okay. Thanks, Jason. Okay, next on our agenda this evening is the agreement for the police collective bargaining agreement addendum approval.
Okay, as the board is aware, I had multiple meetings with our PD's bargaining, with our police department's bargaining unit over this past year. They expressed wanting to extend the current collective bargaining agreement, and the board and police department agreed to 3 years. The addendum that's in front of you contains salary increases of 3.5% for each year through 2028. So this would be an addendum to the 2021-2025 Lower Frederick Township Police contract, and Peter and I drafted it. Peter did his edits, and I did get the thumbs up from the police department that they are satisfied with the addendum.
Okay, well, does anybody have any questions or comments on this? I think we've pretty much chewed all the fat off this topic. I think it's just a matter of moving forward. Chuck, Terry, anything?
No?
I mean, the addendum just addresses compensation for 3 years, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And we did our due diligence and, compared these numbers to other municipalities and what's going on there, and they seem to be in line, right?
That's correct.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. If I'm hearing no more questions or comments on this, we're going to move forward with a motion to accept the addendum with the Lower Frederick Police Department extending the current collective bargaining agreement for 3 years expiring on 12/31 of 2028. Can I get a motion?
I will so move.
Supervisor Hexter makes the motion. I will make the second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion moves forward unanimously.
Sorry, and just for the public, this excludes our chief. We have a separate contract with our chief of police.
Okay, next on our agenda this evening is the zoning hearing board application for 16 Woodside Avenue.
So this application is for, as Noel said, 16 Woodside Avenue. This hearing is scheduled for Monday, September 15th, 2025. The property owner requests a variance from Lower Frederick Township zoning ordinance 170-55 to allow conversion of an existing structure into a 3-unit apartment building upon real property commonly referred to as 16 Woodside Avenue and designated as Montgomery parcel 38-00-02926-00-6 within the township's R3 medium-density residential district. And this is a building that has been vacant for many years, as far, I don't know, but from what I understand, several years. It is in the floodplain, which is, I believe, why it's been difficult to have something happen with this property. So what's in front of you is the application. We have had several meetings with the owner. Does understand the situation as far as what he can and can't do in the floodplain. The plan is to not change the footprint of the structure that's currently there in place, not add impervious, or at least not go over the threshold that would require stormwater management. But he needs the zoning relief to be able to do more than just a single family dwelling, which is what it's listed currently with the county now.
There's an issue with this that he's not asking for all the relief he needs. So, unfortunately, it doesn't appear that he has an attorney, but the application is, even if he gets this relief, he wouldn't be able to build here because he needs to get variances from our floodplain provisions, and he doesn't ask for any of them.
Specifically, the floodplain conservation code?
No, well, this is a section in our zoning ordinance regarding the floodplain, and a residential use like he's proposing is not an allowed use in the floodplain, so he needs a variance to that. The plan submitted is not specific enough that I don't know if there's more requirements he's violating as far as the floodplain goes. But that, just as an aside, regardless of what the board decides to do, I think he's going to have to reapply, and I think we're going to have to re-advertise, and I think there is going to have to be a pushed off until that's all complete.
So what you're saying is the application's incomplete, and the applicant needs to submit a complete application and then reschedule a zoning hearing board when we receive that complete application.
Yeah, because we'll have to re-advertise. Or the zoning hearing board will have to re-advertise the hearing.
So what you're saying is there's no action for us to take tonight?
No, I think you probably should still take an action, but I just wanted you to realize it wasn't as simple as just one single variance. There's more to this, we just don't know how much more.
So if this were a blank sheet of paper
Right.
and the applicant came in to build a home, I've always been under the impression, and an engineer or solicitor, correct me, but that we're not allowed to let that happen in the floodplain. So why is this any different? Has there ever been a residence there? It's been a garage, as far as what I just heard.
Correct. Chuck, there is a variance procedure with the floodplain, but they have to go through that procedure. If it appears to FEMA and PEMA that we're not making sure they go through that process, we could get in trouble, or actually, the worst case scenario is our residents get in trouble because they can't get flood insurance.
Thank you for pointing that out. It was something that I read it specifically somewhere else, and it was alluded to in our code, that this could affect other people's rates.
Yeah.
For flood insurance.
Yeah, if FEMA really decides we're not trying to comply with this, they can say we're not going to issue any flood insurance policies within the township.
That's what I had always been led to believe. And as far as I know, I don't remember ever in planning commission following this process for relief that you kind of just mentioned, so.
Well, it's written in all the ordinances, including ours. They specifically talk about variances.
I'm just pointing out, as far as I know, we've never done that. We've never, unless I'm wrong there, but.
So I guess I'm still not understanding why we should take an action tonight when you're saying this is not going to occur on the date it's scheduled.
Because if the board wants to oppose this, and the applicant, when suggested that they need to amend their application, the applicant says, no, we're just going to go ahead with it.
Okay, I gotcha. So
Yeah.
the wise thing to do would be to oppose it because it's incomplete.
That
No.
could be, or, as Chuck says, oppose it because they're proposing not one, not two, but 3 residences in a floodplain.
Okay, thank you.
So it's supposed to be an apartment.
It's really a townhouse.
That's kind of how it looks. The sad part is that I'm all for infill and readapt and reuse. And it's a shame that this property is where it is. But I do have serious reservations about anything else being put there at this point that, I don't know. So, does anybody else have any other comments on this, Terry? Terry Sachs, Terry Bird?
I take it this is the building would be on not Main Street side of that stream, be on the opposite side, am I correct? Yes. It's a wooden structure?
Cinder block on the bottom.
Cinder block, Terry.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we did have a resident on this street build in the floodplain, and they built up. So would that be a possible solution to that problem?
It seems like that's what they
Yeah,
are
that's what-
doing
that's what
here.
they're looking to
They
do.
would have to,
Yeah,
they have to build up because they can't have any sort of living space,
right.
within 1 foot of the 100-foot
So it
floodplain
could
level.
theoretically work, but they have to go through all the processes and get all of the
Well, there's a
approvals and
difference.
variances.
Certainly from an engineering standpoint, they can make it work, no problem. It's more of a question of, they have to, the process they have to do is they have to get the variances to our requirements and whether or not, I've seen cases where people have sought to build in a floodplain on an empty lot, but it's a single-family home. And they had no other option but to build in the floodplain because the lot's entirely within the floodplain. In this case, they're proposing, 3 residences. So it's 3 times more people who could possibly get in trouble if it does truly flood. And looking, at the plan, to me, there looks like a good portion of this property which is not in the floodplain. So it's not a situation where the only way they can develop this property is within the floodplain. They could develop this property, in my mind, outside the floodplain. Maybe they would need variances to setbacks or something like that, but at least the house is outside of the floodplain.
Well, for what it's worth, this is Chuck Yiser. I'm in opposition to this thing.
I mean, just based on the information we have, it's listed as a bungalow with Montgomery County property records, a bungalow. It's like 1,700 plusy kind of, and they're gonna squeeze 3 more structures, and our code says existing structures in the floodplain cannot be expanded in ways that increase flood risk without demonstrating how those risks will be fully offset. And therein, I think, lies the crux of the problem here. So, as much as, like I said, I'm a fan of infill and readapt and reuse. I think I'm going to side on go on the side of caution here, and I am not in favor of this application.
I'd like to modify that, say I'm not in favor of the application as it is written. So if they can either utilize land that's not in the floodplain, or again, demonstrate that they can, demonstrate that they can, what did you just say?
Without demonstrating how those risks will be fully offset. So you are,
If they can demonstrate how those risks can be offset,
so
then let
you
them do it.
we have 5 choices. So you support the application, but you have conditions.
No, I oppose the application as it is submitted, as in its current state.
I think that goes without saying. I mean,
Right.
they put something in front of us, either you like it or you don't like it. If
It's
we
a
don't like it, they can come back with something different.
Yeah, and I think that's the feedback we can give them, is we're not opposed to the concept of putting a residence there, but this application does not, I can't support it.
Okay, so far we have 3 not in support. This is just consensus. Oh, we do have motion. Is this a motion? Yeah.
Yeah, I would need a motion to oppose the application. I certainly, tomorrow, will reach out to this applicant to discuss this with him and relay the fact that, minimum, he needs to apply for more variances, and ideally, he probably should look to see if he has something different than he wants to propose for the property. But I think at this point in time, what I'm looking for is, based on the discussion, just a motion authorizing me to oppose this application and appear at the zoning hearing board if the hearing is held in opposition to this application, as it's currently presented. Obviously, if they amend it and present something new, we're going to come back to you and say, hey, here's a revised one. What's the board's position on this revised one?
Okay, so based on what you heard here, could you formulate a little
Yes.
motion?
Formulate a motion?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, the motion's easy. The motion is to authorize the township solicitor to appear at the zoning hearing scheduled for Monday, May 15th, Monday, September 15th, to oppose the application concerning the property located at 16 Woodside Avenue.
Okay. Motion has been read. Can I get a motion for that motion?
Chuck Geiser, so moved.
Okay, Chuck makes the motion. I will second that. All of those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Motion moves forward unanimously. Okay. So next on our agenda this evening is Pennsylvania House Bill HB02 opposition letter. So I don't know how many people are familiar with HB02. I'm guessing no one, or 502 rather. This is part of Governor Shapiro's lightning plan that establishes the Reliable Energy Siting and Electric Transition Board, which is short for that is RESET. They're responsible for reviewing and approving applications for large-scale energy facilities, typically 25 megawatts or more. And the bill creates a Pennsylvania Siting Advisory Council to provide recommendations to the board. So without getting into some of the details, I'm going to try and not take up too much of your time with this, but at least read the letter that we're probably going to be sending, well, that we will be voting to send to both Representative Donna Sheeran and Senator Tracy Pennycook. It's in opposition to HB 502. On behalf of Lower Frederick Township Board of Supervisors, I am writing to formally express our strong opposition to Pennsylvania House Bill HB 502. The board is deeply concerned about the potential impacts of these proposed pieces of legislation on our community and the well-being of our residents. We write to express our strong opposition to House Bill 502, which proposes the establishment of the Reliable Energy Siting and Electric Transition Board. If enacted, this legislation would significantly limit or eliminate the authority of local governments to regulate land use and zoning within their communities. As the elected officials representing Lower Frederick Township, we oppose the proposed legislation, which would strip local governments of the powers granted by the MPC, which is the Pennsylvania Municipal Planning Code, and instead transfer decision-making authority to an appointed body in Harrisburg. This removal of local authority would disenfranchise our residents from their rights to express their voices being heard with respect to what is built in their own communities and have potentially dangerous consequences. Land use decisions are best made on the local level, where officials like us have firsthand knowledge of infrastructure limitations, environmental priorities, historic preservation needs, and long-term planning goals. We rely on comprehensive plans, zoning ordinances, and public input to ensure responsible growth that protects both our quality of life and the natural environment. By way of example, an energy developer approached both West Whiteland Township and East Whiteland Township with a proposal to construct an energy production hydrogen facility. Both municipalities denied the plans as the use was not suitable for the property, their surroundings, and was not consistent with what the needs of the residents were. Under the proposed legislation, such community decisions could be overruled by individuals who have no knowledge of our local conditions and planning framework, and it would be harder for our residents to make their voices heard and have their concerns addressed. The proposed legislation's vague language is also of particular concern. It lacks meaningful restrictions and omits key guidance on issues like building height, noise levels, open space protection, and environmental impacts. This opens the door to unchecked development, potentially even on preserved land and/or near residential properties. We urge you to reject HB 502 and stand in support of local control of large-scale electric generating facilities. The MPC correctly ensures that our communities are shaped with local input, and we should not forego the right and give that authority to Harrisburg. We appreciate your consideration of this important matter. We welcome the opportunity to discuss this issue further and encourage you to vote in opposition to the bill. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We appreciate your consideration of our position and look forward to your continued support and protection in the interest of Lower Frederick Township. So this actually was a bill that was introduced back in April of 2025. It was scheduled for vote on June 25th of 2025, and it was tabled and is currently pending with the PA House Energy Committee. And it was tabled because of opposition, that people reached out and they had an opposition to this and they tabled it. But it could still potentially be passed within the budget before the end of the year. They mentioned some of the language, maybe some people will probably be familiar with this. Some of the language in this bill says may instead of shall. We all know what that means. It says it has a materially impede clause that if this goes before the reset board and it grants a developer a certificate of reliable energy supply, which is CRES, municipalities are legally barred from taking any action that might materially impede the project. So the reset board's decision, despite any concerns about safety, noise, or people's property values, they can just move forward with it regardless of anything that anyone has to say about it. So the intended goal behind the HB 502 is stated for energy resilience, which is a good thing. But they claim it's to meet surging electric demands for residents, businesses, and data centers. And that last word is the key part here, because data centers don't work without large energy facilities, generating facilities. So you're talking about two very large things. The likelihood of a mega data center or a large scale energy generating facility to support a data center in our own backyard seems like a stretch. But the cost of the infrastructure build out and the operations could be passed on and spread for projects. The bill ultimately makes them more attractive to private companies, which reduces the fiscal risk they face and encourages them to build. The cost of these for-profit projects are then passed on to the consumers as part of the regular utility bills. So there's another portion that's not actually mentioned in our letter, but I wanted to make it clear that that is also a good reason to oppose the HB 502. Does anyone have any questions or concerns?
I have two comments. One of them is the letter appears to be written from the point of view of the board, so I think either the board should sign it or the chair should sign it on behalf of the board. At least that's how I heard it. And my second comment is I think it would be useful to send a copy of this letter to Regional Planning Committee, which involves 6 municipalities, and we can encourage each of them or collectively to also send in a letter.
I agree on every single point. Thank you. Maybe this letter should be, it says on behalf of Lower Frederick Township Board of Supervisors, it says I am formally, that would be you are writing on our behalf. Maybe this should be written from us before it goes out. Does anyone have an objection to that?
No objection. I think we can get this in the mail tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Get it moving.
Could you say that again, Terry? I didn't quite understand what you just said.
I said, let's get it going. Let's get the letter sent.
Okay.
Can you hear
Then
me?
I guess you're in favor of this.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any other questions or comments from the public? Anyone else on the board? No? Okay. Having said that, the motion is to authorize the township manager to send letters to state representatives Donna Shuren and State Senator Tracy Pennycook opposing House Bill 502. I will make that motion. Can I get a second?
I will second.
Supervisor Hexter makes the second. All of those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Seem to have lost my agenda. We are on our final item of the evening. We have 2 resignations, unfortunately, from our Open Space Committee. First and foremost, we have the resignation of Warren Jacobs from the Open Space Committee as of August 21st of 2025, with his term ending in 12/31 of 2027. Unfortunately, it's sad to see Warren resign from the board, so we have an opening there. So we just need a consensus to accept the resignation of Warren Jacobs from the Open Space Committee. Can I get a motion for that? Or just a consensus?
Yep,
Okay.
that's fine.
And our second,
And thank you to Warren. I mean, you're the original member, so it's a
yes,
new
thank you.
board.
You're one of the reasons we have our Open Space Board. Thank you, Warren. Next is the resignation of Philip A. Smith. His letter is subject to Planning Commission and Open Space Committee resignations and appreciation of service to Lower Frederick Township. Dear Lower Frederick Township Supervisors, Commissions, and Committees. Can you read that?
It is with great sorrow and regret that I am writing to terminate. I'm sorry. It is with great sorrow and regret that I am writing to terminate all of my volunteer services which I have offered to our wonderful township. Recently, I've been diagnosed with several medical conditions which have no reasonable solution. Please understand that my work on various boards and commissions has been a great privilege and personal pride. Phil served on the Planning Commission from September 1999 until August of 2025 on the Open Space Committee, from 2021 to 2025 on the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and on the Lower Frederick Historic Resource Survey Committee. And I have a following note from the board. We are sad to announce that longtime resident and volunteer Phil Smith passed away last week after a battle with cancer. Phil made numerous contributions to the township, to include serving on the Planning Commission for over 20 years and on the Open Space Committee since its inception. He has been involved in every open space initiative since this work began in Lower Frederick. Phil's commitment to open space never flagged. We thank him for his years of service and hope his vision will continue. And from me, I think all of us who know Smith and know how committed he was and how hard he worked, it could give his memory to continue to working on the projects that he cared about.
Thank you, Marla. Okay, having said that, we're open now for public comment. Does anyone have any comments? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, supervisor comment? Wait, Brian Hill, go ahead. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you again, Brian Hill, 11 Ziegler Railroad. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors on at least making the first step as to looking into the sewer resolution for Zieglerville Road. I still believe that the best option for this street is gravity fed with a pumping station at the lower end, pumping the sewage back up to that manhole cover. That is 1,700 feet from my property. I think you're going to do an injustice to the sewer plant by using these low pressure systems and creating a higher toxic level of sewage. And you're also going to place more burden on the homeowner with grinder pumps. You have this new complex that's being built that several of the homes are going to have grinder pumps, adding to potentially more grinder pumps from our street. I think it would be nice to look at both options. We do and had someone offer a section of their property to place a pumping station on. As said before in my last comment, that it seemed to be not okay for the Swamp Creek pumping station, but all of a sudden it became okay for the Riverside Babington project to have a pumping station. So I would ask that you would consider both, looking at both options as a solution and then coming up with what is the best resolution for our street. But with that, obviously the grant is needing to be submitted for, but do we have a timeline? Are we talking 2 to 4 years, 3 to 5 years? What is at least a reasonable amount of time we talking on this project?
Are you referencing that if we should get the grant, how long do we have to build the infrastructure, correct?
That is correct.
Do we have an answer to that? We don't have an answer to that right now, but we will get an answer to that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Brian.
And just regarding any large infrastructure project, it would behoove the board to have a better understanding of the number of residents who are in favor of this project before we enter onto a multi-$100,000 or even $1 million project that could potentially raise the rates for all our ratepayers. So these are all bits of information we need to find out.
I appreciate that, but since I've been waiting 21 years for a resolution to a home that was approved to be built on a property that should have not been built by a builder, this is this is not an option of whether it's get done. We spent how many millions of dollars up on Riverside and Babington? Don't tell me that you're not going to consider Zieglerville Road that has been waiting for this. So please, I'm going to behave myself, but don't use those words or even phraseology about Zieglerville Road. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Are there any questions or comments? I believe Crystal?
Hi, good evening. I just had a really quick question as far as Woodside Avenue, that 16 Woodside Avenue property. It looks like they are trying to build on, obviously, the what we had discussed. But I also had a question as far as the 3 apartments. It looks like that area is a medium density zoning area, not high density. Wouldn't that be a high consideration as well?
Peter?
That's why they're asking for a variance. The apartments, or actually townhomes, are not an allowed use in this zoning district.
Okay, that's what I figured, because it's literally on a 0.63 acre property. Doesn't seem to be large enough for 3 apartments, especially if they're trying to construct something that's on, let's say, stilts, because that's the only way they're going to be able to build on there.
Okay, thank you, Crystal. I believe Diane Joran has a question. Diane?
Not a question, just a comment. I just wanted to say that I think our township was so blessed to have Phil Smith in it. He did so much for all of us with his generosity and his knowledge and his commitment. So I just wanted to say here for the good words that you gave him tonight. And it is a sad occasion for all of us to lose a community member like this. So thank you. Thank you, Phil. You're a real hero.
Thank you, Diane. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Oh, I say supervisor comment. Go ahead. Is there any supervisor comment? Does anyone have? Chuck? Terry? Terry?
Yeah, this is Chuck. Just want to thank Marla for reading the statement on behalf of the board. Phil was, to me, the best friend you could ever have. He said to me many times in the last few times last week, he said, I did the best I can. And anybody who knows him knows that that is 100% true. Thanks.
Thank you, Chuck. All right, are there any more comments? Okay, seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.